All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called The Thin Man, not to be confused with the British film production company Thin Man Films. Giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I disliked it. This looks pretty cool. Here's the Thin Man. I guess he's got shrapnel in his knee or something from the war. Well, people is William Powell for some reason. What a crazy week. I'll show you the rest of my disc. Here's $6 Million Man, Season 1, Disc 2. It's got the third pilot movie on it, plus 2 episodes. 2 hours and 55 minutes, 1974. So, I'm guessing that the movie and the episodes are all 1974. The first 2 pilot movies were 1973. Jeff Jaffe didn't know that it was 50 years old. Well, not quite 50, 49. There's Season 1, Disc 3 of The $6 Million Man. That's my show and tell. I'll go down my list 5 down because I got a lot to say about The Thin Man. The Thin Man is a 1934 U.S. pre-code comedy mystery film. I didn't laugh much in this one. I got a couple chuckles out of it. William Powell is not a great comedian, but I did get a couple chuckles from his mannerings, and so he wasn't terrible. That's why I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars. Plus, there's some mystery involved, kind of like a whodunit kind of film. The film stars William Powell, Myrna Loy as Nick and Nora Charles. I don't know how many movies they made together, maybe 10. A leisure class couple who enjoy copious drinking and flirtatious banter. Nick is why do people want to see these rich people in the height of the Great Depression drinking and playing detective? I don't know. What? Okay. I guess it was a popular film. It was colorized later. Nick is accustomed to the high society. He's a retired private detective who left his very successful career when he married Nora, a wealthy heiress. Their high-wired fox terrier, Asta, was played by canine actor Skippy. In 1997, the film was added to the United States National Film Registry, having been deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, which means that it stinks a little bit. The film screenplay was written by Albert Hackett and Francis Goodrich. A married couple in 1934, the film was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. Another reason why it's a stinker, somewhat. The eponymous Thin Man is not Nick Charles, but the man Charles is initially hired to find, Clyde Wynette. Partway through the film, Charles describes Wynette as a thin man with white hair. The Thin Man moniker was thought by many viewers to refer to Nick Charles, and after a time, it was used in the titles of the sequels as if referring to Charles. It was followed by 5 sequels, all presumably with Myrna Loy and William Powell, I guess. Married high society couple. Major star at MGM, William Horatio Powell. I've seen a few of his films. I'm not impressed with William Powell. Myrna Loy wears a lot of revealing dresses in this one. William Powell, Myrna Loy, and Skippy are in all 5 of them, I guess, or all 6 of them, I should say. I'm just guessing. I haven't seen the other 5. Dorothy Wynant discusses her father, Clyde, about her upcoming wedding. She discusses the fact with her father that her fiance knows all about her family, yet still wants to marry her. Later, her father discovers that his $50,000 in bonds are missing. They were supposed to be a wedding present for his daughter. They were left in his safe. The only other person who knows the combination of the safe would be his secretary, Julia. He confronts Julia about his missing bonds. She confesses that she cashed them in, and she only has $25,000 left. Half of it disappeared. He threatens to call the police unless she comes up with the rest of the $25,000. That's a lot of dough in the Great Depression. Nowadays, it's like 3 months' pay. Oh, speaking of which, I got that Robert Half job, the front office assistant, receptionist job. I get to make 2 pots of coffee in the morning, and then I get to bring lunch in the afternoon. And it's only 20 hours a week, $25 an hour. I quit my valet parking job, the lowest paying one. So my last day at Luma Hotel was Wednesday morning. And I made $141 in cash tips, despite seeing Draymond Green, who didn't give me $100 this time. He only does that at night when nobody's looking. So that was my last day. I turned in my uniform today. I threw away my name tag and my Luma signs for parking. And yesterday, the Axiom hotel manager wanted me to work overnight. And then today, the Luma manager wanted me to work overnight because there's a Giants game. There are all these crazy Giants fans all over 3rd Street, walking the street, all drunk and stupid. But I refuse to do it because I've got 2 other jobs starting next week. Why should I work my tail off, even though my checking account was low, like $111 yesterday? I got paid today. I've got 2 more paychecks coming, 3 more coming down the pike in a couple of weeks. And hopefully I can get my checking account back up to about $22.80. Right now, I think it's down to $1,000. Only got $1,000 after all the deductions, the 401k. What surprised me was that my union job offered me cancer, accident, intensive care, short-term disability, long-term disability. So that's $100 every 2 weeks out of my paycheck. And then I took 5% out into the 401k. I'm eligible for that too. I didn't realize that I was eligible for all these benefits until I got emails about it. And so I signed up right away. Of course, me being the insurance conscious, retirement conscious type. And then they probably took out union dues on top of that. So I'm hurting pretty bad, but fortunately, I got a second part-time job that pays better. So the lower-paying valet job can go as of this week, as far as I'm concerned. It's been a crazy week, though. had to do my I-9 and my direct deposit and my background check, and kind of surprised me because they have a new person, Megan O'Brien, who's working at Robert Half. The Zoom interview with Praveen over on 425 California Street went really well. And the Robert Half person actually knows what she's doing, even though she just started. So that kind of surprised me, but that's why I was kind of waiting for Robert Half to give me a part-time job, because I kept seeing it pop up. The previous Robert Half lady, Michaela Cram, she would email me jobs, and then she said, and then when I followed up, she would say, "Oh, they're already filled." But this new Megan O'Brien, she really wanted to help me this time, so I got lucky. Plus, I got $141 in cash tips on Wednesday, which is very good. Nick Charles is a retired detective and former client of Clyde's. Nick and his wealthy wife, Nora, live in San Francisco before it went communist. But probably when it started to go communist. But they are visiting New York City for Christmas, staying in a glamorous apartment-like suite at the Hotel Normandy. While in New York, Nick is pressed back into service by Doherty as her father. The thin man of the movie title, Inglorious Black and White, I did not watch the colorized version, by the way, was supposed to have left on a secret business trip with the promise to return home before his daughter's wedding. But he has mysteriously disappeared. She convinces Nick to take the case with the assistance of his socialite wife, who is eager to see him in action again. What appears to be a missing person situation rapidly turns into a murder case where Julia Wolfe, Clyde's former secretary and girlfriend, is found dead, and evidence points to Clyde as the prime suspect. Dorothy refuses to believe that her father is guilty. Excuse me, not her family, her father. Nick and Police Lieutenant Guild visit Nunheim, a frequent source for the lieutenant. Police Lieutenant Guild is played by Nat Pendleton. He usually plays a rough film noir criminal, Nat Pendleton. After being pressed for information, Nunheim excuses himself momentarily, only to slip away down the fire escape. He arranges a meeting with the unidentified murderer. Why did I say jet? He arranges a meeting with the yet unidentified murderer, someone whose face is not yet shown, to collect $5,000 from him. When Nunheim arrives, however, he is immediately shot 4 times and killed. On a hunch, Nick soon visits Wyatt's closed shop in the dead of the night, and he unearths a skeletonized but fully dressed body buried under the floor. In the dark shop, Wyatt's bookkeeper, Tanner, suddenly appears. After that, the police, whom Nick had called once he found the body, arrive, and they conclude that Wynant committed the murders of Julia and now this newly discovered body. They assumed that the remains belonged to the Fat Man, a long ago enemy of Wynant's, because of its oversized clothing with a belt buckle bearing an R for Rosewater, that notorious figure's surname. But Nick has already all but solved the case, and soon he invites the full cast of suspects to an elegant dinner party. There, as planned, the murderer is exposed. Nick, who had accompanied the medical examiner when he x-rayed the buried body, theorizes that the clothes were planted to hide the body's true identity, as the x-ray revealed telltale shrapnel, presumably from an old war wound in one leg, the exact same injury that had plagued the thin man, the missing Wynant. Nick deduces that the real culprit murdered Clyde once he discovered that the killer had embezzled from him. And then the culprit murdered his own accomplice, Julia Wolfe, because she knew about Clyde's murder. And after that, he murdered Nunheim since he had witnesses Julia's murder, and the murderer was blackmailing him. Nick unfurls more of his theory to the dinner guests. Herbert McCauley, Clyde's attorney, panics and he tries to shoot Nick. Nick punches him out, declares McCauley to be the murderer. Finally, Nick and Nora, along with Dorothy and her new husband Tommy, celebrate as they ride a luxury train back to California. $231,000 budget, 91 minutes. Seemed like it was shorter than that, but I watched it over a span of 2 days. I couldn't watch it on my phone, though, because it's buy or rent on YouTube. Release date, May 25th, 1934. Budget, $231,000. Box office, $1.4 million. The film was based on the novel by the same... I'm not going to go through the Wikipedia page because I got to bring my son back home. My ex-wife said, pick him up at... what time are you picking him up? I said, I don't know. Am I supposed to guess? Bang on the door and wait 15 minutes? And then she goes, pick him up at... I called her. So I called her because her text message was confusing. She goes, pick him up at 3:30. Okay. So I start driving there, and she says, Aaron wants to play with his friend. Pick him up at 4. So I start driving there at 3:25. I get there at 4, and she says, Aaron won't be ready till 4:10. So he gets there at 4, and he has to use the bathroom and empty out his backpack. It takes him 15 minutes. And I end up picking him up at 4:15. I should have just stuck to the regular 4:30 time. Crazy. What a crazy week. I just ate a pound of chicken fingers, too. And my stomach was hurting. I thought for sure I was going to throw up. The energy drink and a pound of chicken fingers. Not a good mix for my tum-tums. Oh, man. I got to work tonight, and then, next up is Drums of the Desert, 1940. That's the next one on my list. Then It Lives by Night. Train to Tombstone, 1950. Deputy Marshal, 1949. And Broadway Limited, 1941. Those are the next 5 on my list. It's time to send my son home. Laters.